Hello, welcome to the inaugural episode of the Nerdament Podcast. I'm Hayden.
And I'm Aaron.
And we're actually all here as a threesome for the first time. And joining us via Zoom back in her apartment is Victoria. Say hi, Victoria.
Hi!
So, if you don't know already, what we do here is me and Aaron made a 128-person battle tournament. Using comic book characters, or mostly superheroes, from Marvel, DC, Image, and Dark Horse. So we kind of seeded it to a normal tournament seed. Like I thought we did pretty good.
Yes, it was based along the power level of the characters.
Yeah. I mean, Dark Horse and Image, we didn't know as much about them as we did DC and Marvel, so we kind of had to supplement it with the internet.
Yes. It should also be noted that with Marvel and DC, since we know more about their characters, and they're more expansive and well-known, we decided to go with just heroes rather than villains as well.
Yeah, it turns out we were doing a little bit of research into the Dark Horse and Image characters, mostly the Dark Horse ones, and realized that some of them were actually, like, bad guys. Like Kevin.
Yes, Kevin.
We'll get to Kevin later. But, so how this is going to work is I have the DC and Dark Horse characters, while Aaron has the Marvel and Image characters. And we did a little bit of research within the characters that we got per matchup. And Aaron, would you like to go over what we're about to do after that?
Yes. So what will happen is me and Hayden will undergo a debate about which character is better and which one will end in the fight. And after that debate, Victoria will be the final judge over who would win. Now, how the debate is going to be structured is going to be the top seed is going to go first, and they're going to introduce their character. And then the bottom seed will introduce their character and start to challenge the top seed. After they're done challenging and Victoria will ask questions, the top seed can start challenging the bottom seed and have his closing arguments. And then it finally ends with the bottom seed and their closing arguments against the top seed.
Yeah, so, I mean, for this first episode, it's going to be the top seed from each of the companies. So the top seeds are Doctor Strange, Dr. Manhattan,
Supreme,
and The Mask. So we're going to start off, with the Doctor Strange matchup. So Aaron, would you like to start here?
Yes. Here I have...
Sorry. In the red corner, we have...
We have Dr. Stephen Strange, known by his comic book name and superhero name, Doctor Strange. Literally just his name.
I don't think you need to say the Dr. Stephen Strange part, but...
I want to.
Okay. So, Doctor Strange.
So, Doctor Strange first appeared in 1963 in the Strange Tales number 110. His origin is the same as it was in the movie, pretty similar. That he was an egotistical surgeon, that after a car crash, he had damage to his hands and they were shaking constantly. So he spends all of his money trying to save his hands and become a good surgeon again, and becomes a drifter, where he hears a couple sailors talking about the Ancient One. So he goes and tries to join the Ancient One, who rejects him multiple times, until the Ancient One finally sees that Doctor Strange changes and becomes selfless, and brings him into the sorcerer and as his apprentice. So powers that Doctor Strange has is basically anything you can do with magic. He's a master of it, he has a genius level intellect, he's trained in martial artists, in all martial arts, including judo. He has access to extremely powerful mystical objects, such as the Eye of Agamotto, which in the MCU is portrayed as the Time Stone, but in the comics is more as a type of white magic or good magic, and it's used to expel dark magic. He also has the Orb of Agamotto, which is a way to sense magic anywhere in the multiverse, so that he can find it anywhere that he sees, but that won't necessarily be useful here.
No, there's no magic involved in the other guy.
Yes. He also has the Cloak of Levitation, which is nearly indestructible and allows him various forms of flight. And finally, he learns from the Book of Vishanti, which is is an indestructible book containing the most powerful versions of white magic. And Doctor Strange constantly battles immortal demons such as Dormammu in Nightmare, and has reportedly fought inside the center of the sun.
Where did you see that at? I've never heard that before.
He fought Mordo.
In the sun?
Yes.
That seems like a bad place to fight at. You got something to say, Victoria? You're making a face.
No, I'm just taking it all in. You know?
Okay, continue.
So, that is my introduction to Doctor Strange. Hayden, would you like to introduce Black Beetle?
I don't know how you could top that, but let's go.
I don't. So, the Black Beetle first appeared April 12th, 2012, in a comic that is set in the 1940s and 50s, and he's kind of like supposed to be a mass vigilante from that era. So he's basically just a mass vigilante. You know the type, running around killing people. You know, he uses a gun. He doesn't really. He knows a little bit of unarmed combat, but mostly he uses a gun. He's a weapons master, as you can say. But his abilities, as listed via the interweb, are agility. He's a chameleon, so he can blend into his environments a little bit. Not like superhuman chameleon, just like puts on a trench coat and a hat and just kind of, evaporates into the surroundings. He's an escape artist. He can fly. I don't know how, but I think he probably just has like a jetpack or something. He has gadgets. He is smart. He's a good marksman. He carries a power item. That's all that it said. There was no description on the power item. It just says that he has one. He has stamina. He is stealthy. He's a submariner, but not like in a superhero, like superhuman kind of sense. He is good at diving. He has super sight, and like I said, he's good at unarmed combat, and he's a weapons master. He's literally just a max vigilante, and he was actually created. They had a contest at one point. They asked the fans which they would rather read a book about. It was a masked vigilante called the Black Beetle, or some other guy that they ended up not writing about because the fans voted on the masked vigilante, and that's how he came into being. So I don't know how you're gonna fight with all those like magical abilities that he has, but I mean, good luck with that one, Aaron.
Does he have? Would you say that he has any sort of edge on Doctor Strange?
I'd say that no. No disrespect or anything, but no, I can't think of. He wears a mask.
Okay.
I don't. No, I'm good.
Okay.
I don't even have a follow-up argument. I'm sorry, Black Beetle, but you're not on the same level as Doctor Strange. So I mean, yeah. So I think we can just skip past the rebuttal argument phase and just hear what Victoria has to say.
Yes.
You're not even gonna try to defend your character?
I did. He wears a mask.
Oh, wow. Okay. I would like to recap before I ask my question. So, Aaron, I do believe you started off with saying the time era of Doctor Strange. Can you repeat that for me again?
The time that his first appearance came in?
Yes.
Yes. July of 1963.
So he's an old dude. That's what the Black Beetle is, a young guy.
Boom.
Boom. No. Young.
No, you're wrong. But okay.
He's got that youthful like exuberance.
Didn't you say Black Beetle was between 1940s and
No. I
say
he's
that.
the old guy.
Okay. But he's a newer character. He's young. He's a younger character.
Okay.
Okay. But anyway, going back to what I was saying about recapping with Aaron, so I just wanted to make sure you said his powers again were anything you can do with magic, correct?
Yes, he is commonly referred to as the greatest sorcerer among the cosmos.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Aaron. And then, Hayden, so I would like for you to elaborate just a little bit
I don't need to.
on his super sight for Black Beetle.
He wears goggles. They're red, and they like zoom in a little bit. That is all.
Do they have like any sort of night vision, or is it just the zooming?
They zoom in a lot, so yep. That's all.
Okay.
That's all I have. I'm sure they have night vision. And there, all it said was that he had super sight, and he wears goggles, so they're red tinted, so they look cool.
Okay, and then you also said that he was a marksman. Now, Aaron did elaborate on how Dr. Strange was trained. Can you elaborate on the Black Beetle? Was he trained in being a marksman at any point?
I'm sure he
in time,
was. Based in the 1940s and 50s, he was probably in the army at some point.
Okay, so we're gonna go with army.
Yeah, sure. I mean, he's about like in his 20s or early 30s, so he probably had to fight in World War II. So show some respect to the veteran.
You don't even know. Okay.
The veteran that I'm sure he is, that I just pulled out of nowhere.
Well, those were my questions.
Okay. So I guess we just moved to the grading phase. Also, you never really explained what your knowledge is in comics, so would you like to go through that? Or
Yeah, so like they said, my name's Victoria. I'm pretty much your typical consumer when it comes to all things superheroes, and I definitely, of course, don't know as much as they do, but I will, of course, do my best to ask them good questions, and maybe at the end of all of this, we'll all learn something there. So that's just my job here.
yeah, all right. I think that was a pretty smooth rundown. So you basically just you've seen the movies and watched the TV shows.
Yeah.
All right, that's fair. I mean, we've all seen the movies and watched all the TV shows. So we just happen to read more comic books than you have. That's about it.
You guys just go way more in depth than anyone else.
Yeah, well,
that's what that is.
Except for on the Black Beetle, but yep. Okay, so who's gonna win in our first ever matchup? Doctor Strange or this army veteran from World War II, greatest generation? He can fly. He has a gun. He has some goggles. Wears a hat.
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious
The
who
Black
would
Beetle.
win. Definitely.
Alright, cool. Let's put it on the board. Yes.
No. That was sarcasm at its finest. But anyway, so obviously we're giving that over to Doctor Strange. Way to go, Aaron, for your knowledge there.
Woo. Whatever.
Yeah, try to research more next time.
I did all the possible research. He's from 2012 and he was in like one comic book series.
You didn't even defend your own character. How could I even give that to
How
you?
was I going to counter Doctor Strange?
You could have tried.
I couldn't have.
I think Aaron would have did a better job, but anyway.
Oh, okay, whatever. Alright, so the next matchup.
Yes.
You want to go to the number 2?
Yes.
Alright, so that's Dr. Manhattan versus the Spartan. Who has it alternate named? Did you see his alternate name?
Are you talking about
It was like abbreviated, kind of, right?
No, I did not.
No? Oh, well. I thought it was like next to his name, but it's not that big a deal. His name is the Spartan.
Yes.
So that's all you need to know. So I guess I'll go first since I have Dr. Manhattan.
For a note, Dr. Manhattan from DC, part of the Watchmen, and
yeah.
I have the Spartan from Image Comics.
Okay, yes. So, Dr. Manhattan was first appeared in 1986 in The Watchmen #1. He got his powers because he was caught in what they refer to as an intrinsic field generator. If you've seen the Watchmen comic book, or not the comic book, if you've seen the movie, the Watchmen movie from 2009, it's pretty much like that. He went back to go get his watch, was it her watch?
It was his watch.
His watch. He goes back to get his watch, and the door locks behind him, and he's stuck in there, and he basically gets disintegrated. And then over the next few weeks, maybe a month or a month and a half, little bits of like strange happenings happen, I guess, as they tend to do. But like a circular system appeared at one point in the hallway and then disappeared, and then like a partially muscled skeleton appeared for a few seconds and then disappeared, and like this kind of stuff was just happening, and then he just like full out appeared. And if you don't know what it looks like, you can actually look on our Instagram at Nerdament Podcast on Instagram, or on our Twitter at Nerdament Pod. But he's blue. And naked. And he's like ripped. He also has like a dot and a circle for the first element on his forehead. And he's actually named after obviously the Manhattan Project, that developed the first nuclear bomb. So, abilities. Here we go. This is a really long list. So let's start off. He has subatomic perception and control. He can control atoms. He can disintegrate and reform. He has unlimited manipulation of matter and his own body. He can shape and size. He can manipulate his shape and size. He can fly. He's invulnerable. He has chronokinesis or time control. He's intangible. He has telekinesis. He can teleport. He has clairvoyance, precognition, self-duplication, omniscience. Omniscience.
That was terrible.
Yes, it was. Immortality and reality warping. But not to trash on this like ultra powerful character, he has no feats of mention. Apparently, he's never been in like an actual fight until he fought Superman, and we don't even know what happened at the end of that one because we didn't read the comic book.
No.
But when I looked him up online, it said he didn't have any feats to mention. So I don't know what happened in the Superman fight. You can probably find that out. It's in the Doomsday Clock.
Yes.
Doomsday Clock. Storyline that DC came up with 2 years ago?
Around, yes.
3 years ago? Yeah. That's about it. I'm not going to tell you what he's immune to. Or what his problems are, what his weaknesses are. But yeah, that's pretty much Dr. Manhattan. Ultra powerful character. Pretty godlike, I'd say. Yeah. But Aaron, your character.
Now, mine's not technically a god or godlike, but he's more of an android type being. My character is Jan Cole, eventually called the Spartan. He first appeared in Wildcats #1 from August of 1992. Basically, his origin story is that he was a warrior, an alien warrior from a planet called Cherubim, and he was marooned on Earth during their battle with another alien species called the Demonites. And this war between the Cherubim and Demonites went on Earth. Went on Earth.
There it is.
For several years in secret. And Jan Cole eventually joined the US as a Special Forces operative against the Demonites. And during a mission he ended up sacrificing himself, but not before his personality was downloaded and put into an android that was replicated after him and modeled after his. Yes.
Okay.
And modeled after his appearance and likelihood. So his powers are basically anything they can do to that robot.
Oh, so we have an actual fight now.
Yes.
Okay.
It's anything that they can put into that robot, including he normally has strength, speed, durability, and stamina. He he will only lose if he's absolutely destroyed because he does not feel any sort of pain. He can have a hollow projection of himself. He can use plasma projections for blasts, shields, and incapacitating strobe, or he can make his punches basically punch harder. He can
He can make his punches punch harder?
Yes.
Okay.
He can stealth. He can put a stealth field around himself to cloak himself. He can use an energy filament to try to hold his opponents down. He is immune to psychics. He can fly. He is technically immortal because they can just transfer his consciousness to another version of himself. He is a genius. He has what's called technopathy, which I'm assuming is the right way to say that, where he can control any sort of... He can interface with any sort of electronic that he interacts with. He can repair himself. And he's proficient in both hand-to-hand combat and weaponry, typically with his signature weapon, an axe.
Wait, hold on. He's like a space robot cyborg that has like unlimited power and potential, and his main weapon's an axe.
Yes.
Is it a magical axe?
No.
Alright.
It's an axe.
Okay, just a regular axe? Like I could hold this axe?
Well, I think it's an axe from his planet.
Oh. So it's an alien axe.
Yes.
Those are the best kind of axes.
It's the best I got there. He only has 2 notable feats that could compare to Dr. Manhattan. And that is, in his universe, he has multiple iterations of himself, since they can transfer his consciousness. And the last version of it, which is granted as godlike powers, is what they call it, can live past the end of times. And he gets these godlike powers by absorbing basically a god in his universe, which gives him temporary power. Like they were dying and he took their consciousness into him.
He just sucked up their consciousness into himself? That's gross. Why would you touch someone else's consciousness like that?
I don't know.
It's like a violation of privacy.
Yes.
So this guy's actually a bad guy then?
Yes.
He touched that god without their permission.
Well, I mean, God's name was Void, so he was kind of a bad guy.
Oh. There's never been a good guy named Void. So.
No. But
there's actually a character on the tournament named Void.
Yes,
I just remembered that.
But the most godlike power that Void has, that Spartan gets from him, is teleportation. That's really the main power that comes from it, that he doesn't already have. Now, Spartan does have 2 weaknesses, and that is any electromagnetic pulse can cause him to short out and be rendered inert.
And he can't get wet. Right? Because he's a robot.
He can't.
Oh.
Unfortunately.
Oh.
And since he has so much power inside a robotic body, that power can be unstable.
Unstable?
Yes.
Like explosive?
Yes. Like he could
just blow up.
If his powers start to get overloading, then it could cause his body to explode.
So this guy seems like he's decently powerful, right?
Yes.
Alright. Victoria, do you have any questions so far about these characters?
Honestly, you keep asking all my questions while we're just trying to let Aaron talk here, but, it's okay.
I want to know.
I'm pretty sure we're just supposed to be letting Aaron, tell us everything, but you just keep interrupting him to ask questions, but it's okay.
What, you don't have anything else?
So you didn't want to give weaknesses, but Aaron did, so I feel like you should probably give us.
Okay, so, weaknesses for Dr. Manhattan, something called tachyons, which are, like subatomic particles that move faster than light. They end up clouding his vision. He can't see past those.
It is described in Watchmen as they move backwards in time.
Yeah, they move backwards in what we perceive as time. That's what he said. And then even though he's a scientist and he's pretty smart and he's pretty much all knowing and can see all possible realities, he has managed to get himself hoodwinked I suppose. Is the best way to... He's been manipulated before.
Yes.
Because he fails to see something. I don't know why. Like, he shouldn't be able to be manipulated, but he is. So, and he has lost in the comic books to people in a fight.
Yeah, okay. So basically my challenge from Spartan to Manhattan is basically, if the Spartan is as quick as they say he is, then he would be able to hit Dr. Manhattan with basically everything he has from his long updated system. And that could give him a chance to overwhelm Manhattan and disperse him for long enough that he would be unable to be in the fight.
But wouldn't Dr. Manhattan just see it coming?
Possible, yes.
He would just see it coming, and then he would just turn and make himself like where his Spartan's fist would just go through his face.
Wait, but I do have a question. So for Spartan to like take someone's like powers, like how we were talking about the whole essence thing, do they have to be dying, or does he just have to touch them?
As far as I know, it's only happened once, and the only time it's happened was when Void was dying. So I'm not entirely sure that he can just go up to Manhattan
and just suck him up in there.
Yeah, and just take all of Manhattan's powers. Don't.
So yeah, so my answer is, I mean, since Dr. Manhattan, for the most part, can see all possible futures and plan accordingly, what's stopping him from just like seeing the Spartans attack and just be like, you're done, get out of here?
But you said he has been hoodwinked before.
Yeah, but that was a long con. It was what's his name?
Ozymandias.
Yeah, it was they threw tachyons into like the time-space continuum, and it blocked him seeing the future. So, and he got fooled because he had friends.
Yes. Basically,
like, he got hoodwinked because he was still partially human. Is why he got hoodwinked, right? So, I mean, is the Spartan going to be able to throw tachyons into the time-space continuum to block Dr. Manhattan's vision, or
to pull a long con? I don't think so, but he is able to pull up a mainframe that sees all of the files for metahumans.
But wouldn't he have to plan ahead to do that?
Yes, he would.
He would, like this is the way this fighting works. Is they're in a city and they see each other, right? Or do you want to allow like people the ability to plan ahead? Because I already know who's gonna win if you give them the ability to plan ahead.
I would say a month ahead.
A month ahead? You give him a month. So you think he's going to be able to throw tachyons into the time-space continuum in a month?
To be honest, no.
Okay. So Aaron that answers that. So what do you think, Victoria?
Okay, so my main question is that are you guys now giving them a month to plan for this fight, or is this just them like
we're giving it a month now. Yeah. It didn't really matter in the first one, but we'll give them a month.
A month on the whole board.
Yeah, everybody gets a month.
Okay. So they have a month to decide to come up with everything to fight, correct?
Yes.
So what is stopping Dr. Manhattan just from fleeing? Because it sounds like he's pretty good at that.
He has to fight.
Okay.
Like, they have to fight. He can't just leave. Which he did actually, in the movie, he just left.
Yeah.
Because, and in the comic book too, he just left because he didn't want to deal with people anymore. So he just went off to Mars, set on Mars. Which is what he's still doing, isn't he? No, he's on the moon, right?
Yes, in the comics he is currently resident on the moon.
So, I mean, that's where Superman finds him.
Yes.
So, I mean, yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we are waiting your judgment.
I do have one question.
I guess we're not waiting your judgment.
I do have one question, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Hayden, do you remember the properties of an intrinsic field?
I don't want to.
Okay. I had to look it up and like tell you and all that stuff, and I remember it slightly. But basically, an intrinsic field.
Intrinsic.
Yes, intrinsic field uses properties of electromagnetism to take apart a person molecularly. Which I should point out, in all fairness, is a weakness of Spartan.
Yeah, I mean, electricity and stuff.
Yeah, electromagnetism.
Yes.
Yes, so that's my question.
That wasn't a question. Your question was asking if I remember what an intrinsic field was? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Alright. So yes, Dr. Manhattan is inherently the weakness of Spartan.
Yes.
And he's also super powerful. I can see the future.
Yes.
So your judgment. We are awaiting it now for sure.
Okay, I do still have another question.
Oh.
So they do both have a lot of like powers and stuff that they can do, but I want each of you to pick only 2 and tell me why those 2 powers would help you defeat the other.
Okay, I'll go first. Subatomic perception and control. He can take things apart molecularly. Just like disperse their molecules. And he's intangible. He can become intangible, which means you can't touch him. So, yeah. Aaron?
For Spartan, I would say the 2 powers that highlight him the most would be his general powers of strength, durability, stamina. Particularly his stamina, as it causes him to, anytime he's destroyed, which is fairly hard to tear him apart, but any time parts of him get torn off, he still keeps going. He has to be completely destroyed to lose. And I would also use his plasma projections of blast, shield, incapacitating strobes, and punches.
I have something that could, like, what Dr. Manhattan can do to the Spartan. When you said that he can be just torn apart and just keep fighting and stuff, in the movie, you remember when there was a tank?
Yes.
What did he do to the tank?
He destroyed it
He
part by part.
disassembled it part by part and then crumpled it together into a ball. So
That is a good point.
He'll just do that to the Spartan.
And he does that to a lot of men too.
Yes, he does. And they just turn into goop.
Yes.
Are you ready for the judgment? Or do you have another question?
I think I have reached a verdict.
Okay, and your verdict.
So with everything that has been said, I think Dr. Manhattan would of course win.
Boom!
Alright.
First dub. Alright, dope. As expected. I'm not that excited.